Hi, and welcome to Anne's Family Recipe. Today I'm making Indian pudding. One of my viewers requested this past summer that I share a recipe for Indian pudding. So I promised her that I would make it once Thanksgiving rolled around, and that time is upon us right now. I'm so excited to share this with you. This is a classic colonial dish that has evolved over the centuries into a really comforting, sweet dessert. And it has all of the quintessential flavors of fall and Thanksgiving. It's a cornmeal-based kind of custardy pudding that has molasses and brown sugar in it and lots of warm spices. I think you're really gonna enjoy it. My first step is to crack one egg into a mixing bowl and then whisk it well. My next step is to butter my ramekins. I'm making these into individual portions today, but you can also just bake it in a casserole dish. So I have a paper towel here with about a tablespoon of very soft butter on it, and I'm just going to use it to grease all of my ramekins. I've been heating up 2 cups of whole milk over about medium-low heat until it gets hot. Not boiling, but very hot. And now I'm gonna add in a 1/4 cup of ground cornmeal. This is just basic yellow cornmeal you find at your grocery store. And then I'm gonna whisk it together until it starts to thicken up. So this might take a few minutes, and I'm not sure yet if I'll keep whisking or I might switch over to a wooden spoon, but you just want the consistency to thicken up a little bit. It's been about 5 minutes and my mixture has thickened up nicely. So now we're gonna add in some additional ingredients to make it nice and sweet. So first I have a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and the original recipe that I'm sort of adapting this from called for half brown sugar and half maple syrup, but I feel like maple syrup is kind of an expensive ingredient and not everybody has that on hand. So I just substituted all brown sugar. So for this half recipe, I'm using a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. So I'm gonna dump that in, and I turn the heat off under my mixture, in case I didn't mention that already. And then I have half a teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, which I have a video for. I made it homemade, so I'll link that in the description box below if you want to make your own pumpkin pie spice. It's a mix of allspice and ginger and cinnamon and nutmeg and cloves. I can remember the last one. Next is a 1/4 cup of molasses. Nice and thick and sweet. That's kind of a key ingredient in gingerbread cookies too, so it's gonna have a similar flavor profile. Okay, so 2 more things. A splash of vanilla extract, maybe just like a 1/4 teaspoon. We'll just add that in. And then a tablespoon of softened butter. Okay, and then I'm gonna mix this all together. The final ingredient I have to add is my beaten egg. So I need to temper it so that it doesn't scramble inside the rest of my mixture. So I'm using my 1/4 cup measure that I had for my molasses, and I'm gonna take a little bit of the hot cornmeal mixture out and carefully, let me whisk with my left hand here. I'm gonna carefully add it into the egg. This will warm it up a little bit so that when we add it into the mixture, it won't scramble. I decided since I cut the recipe in half, I'm just gonna use 2 of these ramekins. So now I'm just ladling the mixture evenly in between the 2. So this full recipe in a casserole dish bakes at 325 degrees for about an hour and a half. And they recommend that you use a water bath, which just means that you place your casserole dish into a larger pan filled like maybe halfway up the side of the casserole dish with very warm water. And that just makes the cooking a little bit more even. Nothing's gonna burn on the outside. You use a similar technique if you're making a cheesecake. Now, being that I cut my recipe in half and I'm using these individual ramekins, it's probably not gonna take an hour and a half, but you definitely want it to set up. So I'll let you know how long it bakes. So to avoid any spills, hopefully, I'm going to place my 2 ramekins that are inside my glass baking dish on the baking rack first. And then we'll carefully pour our water inside till it should come about, I don't know, 1/3 to a halfway up the sides of the ramekins. That's perfect. And then I'm gonna slide this back in carefully. I'm hoping no water is gonna get inside. Here we go. And now these are gonna bake. My Indian pudding baked for 1 hour and 15 minutes, so it was still slightly wobbly or jiggly, if you will, but it was definitely set on top. So I would definitely suggest, if you're doing the water bath, to fill it at least halfway up, because the baking process is so long that a lot of that water does evaporate. You are going to love this if you've never tried Indian pudding. I haven't had this in years, and this dessert, it's like a cross between bread pudding and like a souffle. It's like a little bit looser texture than a bread pudding. It tastes kind of like gingerbread, but a little bit milder and sweeter, not quite as spicy. The molasses flavor is definitely a little bit stronger. And it is so, so good with a scoop of vanilla ice cream or even some like fresh homemade whipped cream on top. It's awesome. I'm gonna eat a little bit more right now because I just can't help myself. And you know what? I had forgotten about this. It's really buttery, which I love. And if you want to make this for Thanksgiving, it could be baking in the oven while you're feasting on your dinner, and then it would come out, you know, 1 hour and 15 minutes, 1.5 hours later, nice and hot out of the oven, ready for you to eat for dessert. But this would be such a warm and cozy dessert all fall and winter long. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram at Ann's Family Recipe. Give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw here today. Thank you so much for joining me here today in my kitchen. Happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you again soon with another family recipe.